the CEO Bench this week. My name is Eddie Okila. How is your week? And are you a CEO? Are you looking for some inspiration from those who have made it so far? And if yes, in the studio today, we bring you the story of a young lady who is now the new CEO of Mona Faces, and she's a makeup artist, and she's been doing this for a very long time and already in the studio. So welcome to the CEO Bench. Mona, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
So your name sounds like a French name.
Maybe it is. My real full name is Mona Lisa, so Mona is half of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And welcome to the CEO Bench.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're gonna start the interview straight from the very important point of first of all knowing who is Mona. In a nutshell, who is Mona? Where did you come from? Where did we find you? Who brought you to this world? Where are they? What happened?
That's long. That's going to be really long.
yes. So we want to know the long and short of all of it. Yes.
Okay. So my name is Mona. I am a self-taught makeup artist, Ugandan, born and raised in Uganda. I have been doing makeup for 6 years now. Professionally, I've built a business around it. I'm a full-time makeup artist. I own a makeup studio at Kisementi at the Bistro. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Really brief.
Yes,
brief. Yeah.
So we want to know, did you study makeup?
I did not. Like I said, I'm self-taught.
Okay.
So I started doing makeup when I was still at uni. I was 22 when I started doing makeup. In my second year at MOOBS, I was doing office and information management. Yeah, and I wasn't a big fan of that. I've always been an artist. I've always been into beauty growing up. So yeah, eventually I started doing makeup for my friends for fun. And I met a few friends who were also in photography, Lavington and Hillary. They had Blush Media at that time. And we decided to create content for social media and posted the pictures, and they went viral. And then,
so when it does,
yeah, the rest is history.
Well, to all the people joining us all across the world, we are talking to Mona Lisa, and of course she's the CEO of Mona Faces. Mona Faces is one of the makeup studios straight out of Kampala to the rest of the world.
First.
And the first professional one that we know. Of course, there have been many people doing makeup business in Uganda, but you seem to have revolutionized the whole makeup business and taking it to a whole different level.
Yeah.
Mona, we just want to get straight to the interview. The girl child is known for always not thinking outside the box. And you said while doing your office management bachelor at MOOBS, you decided that you were not cut out for what you were studying. What informed your decision to pick up yourself from that point to do what you're doing now?
I'd say for me, I was mainly led by my passion. I'm a very passionate person. I like to do things that I want to do. Like literally, I'm not going to do something if I don't want to do it. So I would say hated. I wasn't a big fan of what I was studying at that time.
Yeah.
I've always been an artist. I thought I would do art at university, but you know how they decide what course they give you. Then they ended up giving me that, and I was bored every day. So when I started to do makeup, actually I would have classes in the day, and then at night I would go and buy those. There used to be those MBs, you know, those MBs that would go from like midnight to 6.
Yes, to morning.
Yes. So I would watch tutorials the entire night. Yeah.
Wow.
And then the next morning, I'm excited to try it out on my roommate at hostel.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it started. And then social media had also come up, Instagram. So we started to post our pictures, and this is something that I had so much fun doing.
Yeah.
So I was enjoying it, and then people started calling me up, booking me, and it got busy. And then I realized, shoot, this could actually be something.
Yes.
So I had to pick, I had to make a choice, decide what I was going to focus on more, what I was going to do more of, and I chose makeup, and yeah, I had to go in with it and do it 110%.
All right, so it's not an easy thing if you're starting a business. So on the CEO bench, we often bring people who have reached a certain degree of success in their businesses. And we start by looking at the leadership abilities of such people or such individuals, and you are no different from that kind of individual that we look for on the CEO bench. And the CEO bench look at the leadership, self-leadership. Your story is very fascinating. First of all, picking yourself and spending a lot more time trying to research about what you want to do and actually doing it. In Uganda, we are not known, or mainly in Africa, we're not known for a lot of research and development before we start our business. Our businesses are usually started with, oh, my auntie is doing it, so I may also as well just do it, or my cousin is doing it, I think I love what my cousin is doing. But from your story, you're saying you started by going to YouTube and trying to make sure you actually get all of this done. Mona, I want to take you to the first question, which is, why did you pick yourself? I know you said you're already passionate about it, but leadership is about picking self and giving self meaning. What drove you to giving yourself meaning as a leader? To us, we qualify you as a person who is a leader. You picked yourself, gave yourself meaning, and started to do what you're doing today.
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I don't even think I've been asked that before.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I just found myself in that role. I don't think I've ever looked at myself as a leader. It's only now that I'm already doing it that I'm like, oh shoot, I actually am leading people, I'm teaching people, I'm mentoring. It didn't start out like that. Like I say, it started out purely passion. This is what I enjoyed to do. I didn't mind waking up at 4 a.m. and doing it until midnight and doing that same routine again and again and again. And then eventually I obviously I got busy, so I had to employ people, I had to employ other girls. I love to work with girls. I employ only girls. No offense, but like literally all the makeup artists I work with, the manager at the store, my manager, even my graphics designer now is female, so I love that. So I found myself in that role already, and then now I was like, okay, I need to I think I try to read more, I try to find as much knowledge as I can. I don't think I am there yet, but I try my hardest to to mentor other people and work with them. And I also love to share. I think that's where the leadership maybe comes in. I like to teach what I already know, so I'm always teaching people how to do. I do master classes, I train people at the studio, and most of the people that I train how to do makeup end up being my employees.
Okay.
Yeah.
Parents are usually not quite easy with children, particularly when you decide to do something that they don't feel comfortable with, something that they didn't send you to school to study. And then you say, we sent you to school to study office management so you can become a serious, significant person pursuing a white collar job, and you're telling us this thing called makeup artist. What are you talking about? We don't even understand it. And how did that go with your parents, by the way? Your dad and mom, when you first told them, yo, this is what I want to do?
Well, unfortunately, my father had already passed.
Could you speak a little louder? More
yeah,
yes.
Okay. So my father had already passed. He passed when I was in my senior 5, right before I turned 18. So I only had my mom, and my mom is she's a free spirit. She's very easygoing, and I'm very grateful for that. She really just lets us do what we love to do. And I'm the firstborn at home, firstborn of 3. I've always been very responsible and also very strong-headed. Like, I know what I want.
You don't look like though.
I am, yeah. Don't be fooled. I am very stubborn. So I'm one of those people, if I've decided that I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. And I don't even feel the need to talk to anyone about it. Like, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to do. Everyone else will sort themselves. That's my mentality, or has always been from growing up. Yeah, so that made it easy. So by the time my mom even noticed I was doing makeup, I had already she was already hearing it from everyone and everywhere. She knew that I was passionate about it, so she wasn't surprised, but then how it quickly picked up, I was already making money, booking clients. I had a whole entire business cards, work. Like I was already a professional. Like yeah, by
From
the time,
campus.
yeah.
Before you graduated, for you already in serious business.
For me, I was already a business owner. Like yeah.
All right. It's interesting though. This is a bit of a personal question to you. He said, sorry, your dad passed, may he rest in peace. But fathers are usually very close to their daughters. I see my friends with their daughters. I see other CEOs with their daughters. And the seat where you're seated here had the former executive director of KCCA, Andrew Chitaka, engineer Andrew Chitaka, and he's talked very passionate about his family. And they're very close to their daughters. Before your father passed on, what was his dream for you? What was he thinking that you should become in life?
My father wanted me to be a banker.
Yes.
Yeah. I was also very close to my dad. He was my best friend. I honestly believe if I was still alive, I would probably be somewhere in the bank trying to figure it out. Yeah. Yes. But because I always, not because he would force me to do it, but because I always wanted him to be proud of me, so I would end up doing something. I knew for a fact that I would have ended up doing something that he wanted me to do. It's only after he passed that now I was like, oh shoot, now I'm in charge. I have to do what I want to do.
And having been the firstborn.
Yeah, and having been the firstborn, I had to make right decisions, not only for me, but even for my siblings. And now I work with my sister. She's a lead makeup artist at my studio, so at our studio. Yeah, so yeah, it's fun. But yeah, if my dad was alive, I would definitely be a banker. Yeah. Wow. Even though he was an artist and his aunt who taught me how to draw.
Yes. So but he wanted you to be a banker.
Yeah, parents always want us to do things that are
different from
what they did or beyond them. Yeah.
All right, well, we're talking to Mona, the founder and the CEO of Mona Faces. And if you're looking for inspiration as a young person, I think Mona's story is quite good enough for you to pick up from. Straight out of university, thinking outside the box, and you can see that she has some really very distinctive leadership qualities. And we often say in leadership that leadership defines the leadership abilities define the level of effectiveness of a person, and I think self-selection has gotten Mona to the next step. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, Mona is going to be sharing more about working with her sister and more also about starting that business. We're going to dive into the deep end of that business so that you can understand what a typical day like as a CEO, how she was able to turn around the business of making up people's faces to look beauty and beautiful, and bringing smile to people, and making money out of it as she loves it. And of course, I'm going to ask her to try and give me a makeup in the studio. I never wear makeup, but today I'm going to wear makeup since Mona is here. Stay right there, we'll be right back. This is the CEO Bench.
Olowo. Thank you for watching House of Talent Television. I love to inspire people. Of life. We've all been through experiences in the last couple of months that have taken us to a place where we need to do something about our lives. We need to change whatever is going on. So if you have not piled up investment for yourself, you need to do that. If you've not done businesses to hold your family in future, you need to do that. Are you thinking of full-time employment? You need to be thinking about your life after employment or your business in the next couple of years. So if you want us to chat, if you want us to talk about this, please get in touch with us at SEAL Uganda on number 0772443085, or check our website www.sealuganda.com, or on all the social media handles. You can hook me up or Facebook, that is Jinpo Olowo, on Instagram, Junpo Olowo, and on Twitter and LinkedIn. Then we can chat a way forward with you. We can help you, we can coach you, we can walk with you this journey of financial freedom. Thank you.
Welcome back from that break. This is the CEO Bench. My name is Eddie Okila, and in the studio is Pastor Pastor Julius Rodlonyo. You know, Pastor Joshua is here every Sunday for the Family Talk Show, so I keep mixing things. JJ, but Pastor, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
And this is the CEO Bench. Feel at home. Take a cup of coffee. Enjoy yourself. I want to take you straight to your next question, Pastor. On leadership now. On leadership, what is the leadership by your understanding?
Right. If I'm to just, and I've thought through this quite
and definition also.
Yes. For me, leadership is a privilege of moving people towards a destiny. And for me, it would be towards God's agenda. That's the best, moving people to God's agenda. God has an agenda for everybody. And I know some people will say, oh, it's too much of God. But God has a plan for this world. And so whether you're in business, you're a medical personnel, if somebody came to you, a good medical leader says, I want you not only to be healed, but to be healthy. That's the kind of mindset that I see. And it's about serving. But let me summarize with this. There's two lenses of leadership that exist in my view. One is transformational leadership, the other one is transactional. And those are the two popular leadership styles that I see, or frames of mind for leadership. And here's my simple definition of transactional, which is a weaker kind of leadership, yet somehow the most popular and what people look for. Transactional leadership looks at leadership in form of power and position. It's about what position. So when you say CEO bench, some people are watching because they want to get to that position because it brings a certain kind of power with it. But if that's all you see of leadership, it becomes transactional. The one that for me is the core of change and productivity is transformational leadership. Because transformational leadership doesn't just look at position and power. Transformational leadership looks at purpose. There's purpose. You are a leader to accomplish something. And that purpose drives a transformational leader. But of course, purpose without productivity is useless.
Dead,
So the other thing that a transformational leader is thinking is, how do I make a difference? How do I produce results given the place of leadership that I have? So how do I transform? You started by saying because it's not just about
very passionate
occupying
about
space. It's about making a difference. So for me, the leadership that every human being should aspire for is transformational leadership. That's the Jesus kind of leadership. Jesus showed up in this world, transformed the way we looked at our relationship with God, the way we related with one another. Till today, we are having that legacy
Yeah.
of his transformational leadership
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the kind. It's a servant leadership that is purpose driven
Yeah.
and looks to making a difference.
Wow. Pastor, I am a transformational leadership coach.
Yeah.
By training, by practice, and by skills as well. And over here, when we were designing the CEO bench, we looked at a number of things.
Yep.
Many years ago, about 18 years ago, we started thinking about these things.
Right.
And we said one day we want to bring the transformational leadership approach, but how do we approach it? We want to put it to the CEO bench. So here we define transformational leadership as a leadership approach that causes change in individuals, as an individual, but also with a view of turning followers, people who follow you, into leaders,
Great.
as well as causing change. It must cause change in the social systems
Right.
of a society, of a nation, or a family, of an individual.
Right.
And that said, we want to take you to your next question. On that note, who is a leader to you, and are you one having defined leadership?
I think leadership is a journey.
Yeah.
I love what John Maxwell, who is an incredible leadership expert, says: different levels of leadership.
5 different levels of
Yes,
leadership.
he describes that, and I think the lowest is the positional one that
Yes,
I talked
yes,
about,
yes.
which is just gives you an opportunity to
Yes,
lead,
yes.
but some people stop
Yes,
there.
yes.
So if you ask me, am I a leader?
Yeah.
By the grace of God, I am a leader, and I am growing as a leader.
Okay.
And I thank God for that privilege of being a leader. And who is a leader to me? It's very simple. Someone that has a vision, but it is also someone that is there serving people.
Okay.
For me, that's a leader. Vision is where you want to take things. Serving is the recognition that if the things do not matter to people, drop them.
Wow.
Drop them. Because at the end of the day, whatever we do must make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
Anybody who has had huge impact in history, in leadership, the impact is not measured by just the things they did, but what those things did for people's lives.
Correct.
Did they make a difference? So it's useless for you to make so much money and the money does not add value to people's lives.
Wow.
So for me, yes, you have to have a vision, and
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you are serving people.
Well, I told you, Pastor is on fire, and I told you if you bring people who have grown from level 1 to level 5, they always have a lot to say. Pastor, I want to take you to the next question. What is your understanding of leadership at the national level and the religious level where you are at the moment?
I think it's the same thing. Again, it doesn't change. Leadership is leadership, whether it is at what we would call a lower level or a top level. Leadership is leadership.
Yeah.
It's about influence. It's that influence that comes from you have a vision and you are serving people. So what changes is the level of responsibility.
Yeah.
But the other one that people don't like is the level of accountability.
Yes.
You see, Jesus said, to whom much is given, much will be required.
Yeah.
So the only differences there is the level of responsibility. When you're at a national level, you are now responsible for an entire nation.
Yeah.
When you are a CEO, now you're no longer just looking at the department, you are looking at the entire entity.
Yes.
The responsibility has changed, the accountability even goes higher.
Yeah.
But here's where I say it's the same, it's the levels of responsibility that change. A leader at a lower level must remain a person of integrity.
Yeah.
Just like we hold our top leadership
Yeah.
to be people of integrity and accountability, it's the same for everybody.
Yeah.
In our context here, when we say the word corruption,
Yeah.
the immediate thought comes, those guys in big positions are the corrupt people. Corruption is a heart matter that whether you're at a lower level or in a place where we never know you, corruption is corruption. Because sometimes we define those things based on the
position.
level and position. So that's why I also would come to the issue of leadership. You are a leader regardless of where you are. It's just the responsibilities that change and the accountability levels become. The more you lead, the more accountable you have to become. So that's how I would, go about it. I wouldn't try to distinguish it very much. I would only try to, in a sense, define it in terms of level of responsibility and level of accountability.
Yeah.
And of course, leadership capacity is there. You can grow your leadership capacity.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing.
Okay.
Growth is possible when it comes to leadership.
Wow. Well, we're on the CEO bench. We're going to ask Pastor 2 more questions before we go on to a break. And when we come back, we're going to look at the transformational part of it. And of course, the foray into the leadership of Watoto Church that we already know. Watoto is not a small place for anyone to play around with. It's a place that has a foundation that is very deep. It has a footprint all over the world. And Julius here is taking over from Pastor Gary. We want to know whether he's fit for the task or he's getting himself fit for the task. Well, Pastor Julius, let's dive into change management. First of all, there's change happening at Watoto.
Yes.
And you are the helm of change at the moment.
Right.
I'm sure, like it was with Jesus, when he said, stay in Jerusalem and I'll send you a helper, it is written, in 10 days or so. They sat there and waited and waited and waited, and one day, I think on the 9th day, Peter decided, says, you people, I think we're missing one person. I think we need to do and replace Judas. Of course, it's not in the context of Watoto. We need to replace Judas.
Yeah.
And so they cast the lot, which means there are many people that fit the bill of replacing Judas. So in your context, not quite related, but close.
Yes.
There were very many people that could have fitted the bill of replacing Gary at the helm of leadership. As the founder, he said, I'm retiring, and he made it public announcement in church that he's retiring. And he said, I have had so many people, and he became very emotional when he was announcing. Eventually, he announced Julius as one of them. How did that make you feel like? Having joined the church from 1997, from just a guy who found himself in church to now being at the helm of leading Watoto.
I need to say this. It's a huge privilege to be entrusted with leadership.
Yeah.
But the other thing I need to say is we are a number of pastors, because our kind of leadership is team leadership.
Yes.
And I love a statement that Gary likes to make. He says, hey, we are a team. And I just have the wonderful privilege that God has allowed me to be a team leader among equals.
Yes.
That's powerful.
Okay.
What that says is that opportunity to serve is a God-given opportunity.
Yeah.
And the best use of it is to serve in humility and serve the people that God has called you to serve, and serve with those around you. So for me, it was a great I felt at that point, one, the weight of the responsibility that comes with this, but also the recognition of being trusted to be able to lead. But also the great example that has been set for us as younger leaders, that you need to always prepare for the next leadership.
Okay.
Leadership continuity.
Yeah.
Those were some of the things that have come. But the other bit which people do not see, is the incredible support and the incredible burden that we carry together as pastors.
Okay.
As pastors. Our leadership at Watoto has never been a one-man show.
Okay.
It has always been team leadership.
Okay.
But ultimately, there's going to be one person who
is accountable for it.
And so that's the place God has asked me to serve, and also through our team leaders, Gary and Marilyn. So yeah, the weight of the responsibility, but the excitement of the future as well. I think we have vision, there's lots that God wants to do, and we're going to continue to do that.
Very well. Pastor, CEOs are meant to manage change, and you are at a leadership position just like a CEO. Dr. Jean Paul Lowe told us here that CEO means Chief Executive Officers, which means there are many executives down here. You're just the chief of them, and I think is what you have just said, that ours at Watoto is a team leadership.
Yes.
I want to take you straight to one thing, transformation and change. Change is happening at Watoto. Gary is going and you're coming in. Is this being communicated?
Yes, I think it's no longer a secret. It's public news, and it's good change the way we are doing it. And I'm so thankful that we get to be alive while we're seeing change happening like that. So yes, it's being communicated. You know, when you think about change, I prefer the word transformation, but when we think about the word change, this is what comes to my mind. There are those who manage change. Now, change management is when things externally come and disrupt what you're doing. You gotta manage that. There are those who avoid change by they don't want change because change comes in the sense of loss, a sense of uncertainty. So there are those who are change managers and there are those who are change avoiders. Transformational leaders are change leaders. In other words, what they do is they initiate change based on the vision they see. So when you talk about change happening at Watoto, it's not just happened to us. All of this has been intentional, and that's why I say it's such a huge privilege to be in a place where we see this happening and we get to be a part of it, almost being in your own movie. This was all initiated by Gary himself and Marilyn, who are founders. You know, some people are founders and they never ever leave. They always stay there. They stay. But because of the vision they have, the belief in raising leaders, they initiated this entire process and said, you know what? There has to be leadership change at Watoto. And this process didn't start 5 years ago. This process started almost 10, 15 years ago, while Gary was in his 50s, pretty much, early 50s. And he begins to say, guys, there's going to come a time when I'm no longer leading. We need to prepare for that next generation of leaders, and the next, and the next. So, in other words, he leads change, and not just manage change.
Wow. And I want to ask you the next question before we go, Pastor Julius. This is your bench. Of course, it can get hot here a little bit. So if you see Pastor Julius sweating, you know that
no,
it's a bit hot in here a little bit. The bench is meant to give us direction. Pastor Julius, the learning organization, Watoto is a big organization. And the learning of it is not something that we can take for granted. You are now at the helm of being a team leader. How are you doing it? If you would share that with us.
You're talking about learning?
Yes, learning the organization. You are now at where that is. Obviously, things were not exposed to you to that level, and now you're still exposed to that level.
In fact, here's the beautiful thing about our context, and it's different. I understand exactly what you mean, learning, because you must always be learning the entity, and not just learning, you are also learning about the new things that could come. And things are changing. You must always be learning.
That's part of change management.
And that's part of it. So yes, I'm doing a lot of that. And you have to unlearn some things. And relearn other things. So I am doing it individually, learning to grow as a leader. You know, self-leadership is key in transformational leadership. As you grow in leadership, you also begin to have to grow your capacity. So I'm learning personally. But on an organizational level, yes, I'm getting to learn accounts and different things. And you're getting to learn so many dynamics, communication. The other day we had the team meeting and people are asking questions, and you get to see where we are weak as an organization, as a church. And you begin to learn how to make those things better. So you're always learning. But here's the difference with us. I wasn't appointed as a pastor or associate team leader coming out of a different organization to Watoto. It's a different context. For CEOs, you may be hired as a CEO coming from a totally different organization to a new one. So the learning curve is bigger. Ours was more of a mentorship and growth process. So I don't need to learn the vision. I have been part of the vision. I don't need to learn how we express ourselves. I have grown in the entire process. So that makes it a little bit different for me. If there's any learning thing that I must do, it is what it means to lead entities and understand these different dynamics, and you begin to apply the laws of the land and different things. You're beginning to pay attention to those things that I otherwise never used to pay attention to.
Because you are just preaching and preaching, you finish and you go home on Sundays.
So you got to learn all of that.
Anymore that much,
Exactly. So those are the parts that I got to learn. And of course, we're a ministry that has global reach, and also begin to learn dynamics of global ministry and working with different cultures and contexts and how they apply their different expressions of what we do there. So you begin to learn and grow in some of those. So I'm doing that, and the good thing, the way we are doing it, here's the thing. You know, sometimes transition in countries, in companies or organizations, one leader goes and they are gone. And it's understandable.
And when the other one comes, they bring in, I want my new people, I want
exactly. And there could be a place for that. But in our context as a church, because we are family, you never get rid of your father. You may grow as a son, be even greater than your father, but a father always remains a father. So that's the mindset we are using, and that's the philosophy of leadership at Watoto. Is a family-oriented one. When your time comes and you've shifted roles, doesn't mean you're out. And that's how we are approaching our leadership change in terms of when you talk of structural leadership.
Wow. Well, we're going to take a break, and the next coffee break, Julius Rutlonyo, the team leader, associate team leader at Watoto Church, is here taking off from Gary and sharing how that entire process is going on the CEO bench, but of course also being a leader as an individual. How is it going? Okay, self-leadership is appointing self, giving self-meaning, changing directions from being an engineer to being a pastor wasn't an easy job, but he managed that change with his parents. We're going to go on a break, and when we come back, Julius and I is going to be talking about transformation. How is it working? But of course, with a bit of still talking change management in there, and that will be the last part of the show. Stay right there. We'll be right back after the break.
Doesn't mean changing completely. You know, there are aspects of yourself that make who you are. You know, those values. Just because you have moved to another place, and maybe there are certain things that aren't going right in that place, doesn't mean that you change your values. So yes, much as, you know, you change and you transform, which is growth, if there are certain values that you stand for, they need to continue being there, because values make you. All these things can go, you know, and even when you're out of a job, people eventually forget you, but people do not forget who you are. People do not forget the values that make you. So for me, that is very, very important.
So do you think Irene Esther Mutuzo or Mutizo Irene Esther have been a transformative person everywhere you've been?
I would like to say yes.
How did you know that you have been a transformative person? Yes.
For example, again, at New Vision, the
Thank you very much for coming to the show.
Yes.
We want to wind up the show by talking to you about Seal Uganda.
Yes.
First of all, what is Seal Uganda and why did you start Seal Uganda when having gotten the good transformational development where you were? Why did you feel like you needed to leave and come to Seal, and what is Seal about?
Okay. Now, as the previous person wrote in comments and said that one of the biggest challenges is transitioning from employment.
In fact, I can read that to you again. It came from Chaya KK. It says, a time is hard to make the transition from a job to actually doing your own thing. How does one do that?
Now, you must recognize time. You see, as we said, change is a fact of life. So change is something that is going to happen whether you like it or not. At one time, Eddie, you did not have beards.
True.
Now you have beards. Did you want to get the beards? It's a fact that it had to happen. So it's like transitioning. You must recognize that change is coming. Who knew that COVID would be here a couple of months ago? Nobody knew, and change has happened. So you must be able to position yourself. So we knew that at a given time X, you must be self-employed. And with self-employment, you must be able to channel these commitments into your own business. So I know that I am very effective in coordination, administration, business processes. So if I could do that good job for somebody else, why else? Why not in my own company? Now, Seal Uganda is a consulting firm. It is co-founded by myself and my sister, Dr. Caroline, where we offer services, advisory, coaching services in the line of, for me personally, finance and business operations. So we help small, medium, and micro organizations or individuals build their wealth to transition from certain segments to a certain place. If you're tired of this vicious cycle of poverty, if you're really tired of that cycle, then Seal Uganda is your place. You get in touch with us. So we coach, we train, we give talks, we encourage, we walk with you. And then Rwanda International Christian Academy, it's one of those school chains that we started a couple of years ago in 2019. Slowly, when we're getting into the real business, COVID hits. And then when COVID hit, that means change had to happen. You needed to re-engineer yourself. So Rwanda International Christian Academy is an international school that offers the Cambridge curriculum, but blended with Christian values. So we have a hybrid of where we factor in the Christian values. It's a Christian school, so we are very patent to the Christianity in our lives that God has impacted on us. And then we do, within Seal, we provide financial services to vulnerable people, like the youth in our area, the children who have started businesses. We offer usually that service for free in that area. So we've rallied with the knowledge that we have. We've rallied people around, and we're helping them because we need to grow together. If we need our areas or our villages where we live in to develop, we need to, I hold your hand, you hold another person's hand, and that's how we're going to grow and get out of this vicious cycle.
Wow. Well, Doctor, we got a question here for you saying Bend Otatina.
Yes.
Chinemugisha said, thanks CEO for that message. And Kawome, thank you very much for joining us on the tail end when Doctor is almost done with the interview here on the CEO bench. But I have a couple of questions here saying, wow, she's talked about business operations. Can Dr. first of all expound more or enlighten us more about business operations? We often hear business operations. This sounds like more of a CEO language and PhD holder. Can you break it down to me? If I have border businesses, how do I manage this?
Okay. Now, business operations is people management, logistics, your supply chains, your procurement, your finances, your administration, your coordination. So business operations encompasses everything that an organization needs. And if you have a border business, you need all those segments. How do you manage your people? How do you manage your client relationship? How do you talk to them? Do you greet them? If you're a vendor in the market, do you wash your vegetables? Well, you would want to go back to this sabji. I call them the sabji wala. In Asia, they call them the sabji. The guys who sell the vegetables. I would want to always go back to this person who washes their monde, properly packages them, and then the one who offers them dirty, because you're adding a little bit of value to your business. And that's what brings a customer. So business finance is in its own, and business processes, so it encompasses everything that an organization needs. Wow.
Well, you've got that on right. And somebody saying, can you please ask Doctor before you close the show one more thing? When she talks about financial discipline, can she share how do we attain financial discipline in our businesses? It's really difficult when you're coming from salaries, where you are earning salaries, to where now you have to make money and you're responsible for other people's needs.
Okay. Now that's an interesting. It starts with how you spread your income and the discipline of making your financials right. Now the difference is, now somebody else from an organization was managing your finances for you. Now it is your responsibility. So you must make sure you separate the accounts. You must make sure you don't run your business as your wallet. Business goes through the business channels. If you said you've earmarked this bank account to receive all the monies, channel all that money, you must make sure you have documentation. Documentation meaning you spend on Ndiro coffee lunch for a team of people, get a receipt. Don't come with verbal knowledge, because after 3 weeks you will not remember that you had lunch at Ndiro. But you see, that money is drawn out. Stick to the way you spread your money and use the personal withdrawals. Personal withdrawals simply means when you spread your income, let's say this month, when you have tallied your expenditure and income, that will only be possible if you've documented it. Now, if without documentation, you will not know how much money you've made. You will not know how much expenditure has gone out. Then within the expenditure, you pay yourself. And on your payment, you're free to do whatever you want with your payment. But having made a clear distinction of how you channel the business money. So this person, to start with, must understand that now they are responsible for their finances. It's no longer some accountant in another department. And then make sure, or go to NASA, print receipts, print invoices, print performer invoices. Make sure your documentation is right. Download an app that can manage your finances than doing it manually, so that on a given month you have all the records. You have your ins and you have your outs.
Wow. Doctor, we have come to the end of the show. We want to just ask you, first of all, Seal Uganda, thank you very much for coming. We're probably going to bring you back and talk about Seal Uganda at some point. And but Landa International Christian Academy, from Kamucha to Landa, means you are a bad man from Kamucha, from Kamucha to Landa. Why did you move from Kamucha to Landa? What's the story behind this?
Now the story is, we grew up in a very noisy neighborhood. Kamucha. Now there are advantages and disadvantages of such areas. Now in Kamucha, you can go at any time and grab something to eat. Now we moved to a place called Namland in Tebe Road in I think in 2009. Now the beauty of the lake and the serenity of the birds. So I love birds, I love nature. So we needed to move to a place, where there's peace. You sleep and nobody's saying, come on, Chantinda, come on, Chantinda. You see that ring in my ears. I needed to have a place where, I look at nature, I look at the beauty and behold the goodness of the Lord. Now, as we moved in our place, we believe, again, according to my belief, is when we get in a place, we take territory. So we trusted God for space, and He gave us land, and we were able to invest and also invest in that school, and started the school because we wanted to nurture the younger minds to be able, to be the impactful leaders in our future.
Wow.
which is tomorrow.
Wow. Well, we've come to the end of the show, Doctor. Thank you very much for coming here. We bonga, and we want to say thank you. And we would like to toast to the CEO bench of our coffee.
Yes.
And we'll bring in the show to an end. Until next week, we'll bring you another guest. This has been the CEO bench. My name is Eddie Okello, Dr. Jean Paul. Follow right here, Seal Uganda, Namulanda International Academy, Christian Academy. Please visit them and make sure you pay them to give you business operations consultants. Until next week, God bless and stay the CEO that is connected to the down ground.
Yes.
There's a lot that is involved in the civil society organizations. There's leadership in itself, there's management of processes, there's management of the human resource, there's fundraising, there's research. It's a lot that needs to be done. And many times there is a feeling that is too much for a woman because she has other traditional roles that she needs to do as at home. So many times as people are looking for leaders in civil society organizations, the priority is usually given to men because of our society that feels that men have the time, men have the capacity, men have the ability to lead, to take this organization to greater heights. And women, there will be a problem. They will have to go to maternity for maternity leave. They have issues. They are too emotional. They have not done the courses that are good enough for leaders. They don't have time to to go for extra learning or to go for work outside Kampala because they have to tend to their children. So there's too much that society has tied around a woman. And it's true. We have these traditional roles that we have to do. But does not in any way mean that women cannot lead in these spaces.
Question from David Okwi is an electrical engineer, and he says engineers solves problems while politicians create them. How does he reconcile the switch? Ask Engineer Andrew Chitaka to respond to that.
What switch is he talking about? I didn't switch from engineering to politics.
It seems to, most people seem to think that you switched from being an engineer to politics. That's why we have many potholes now in Kampala. No, you became a political leader as opposed to a technical leader in that aspect. So if I understand what David Okwi is saying, engineers solve problems while politicians create them all often. How does Engineer Chitaka, how does he reconcile the switch between the two?
Well, Well, when I was acting ED,
Yes.
actually most people were mistaking me for a politician.
Yes.
But it's actually a technical job.
Yes. And I want you to address that to the camera, because
It's,
many of these guys believe that.
Yes, the job of ED at KCCA is a technical job. It's a technical job, but as you know, as you grow higher in your career, you tend to be more of a manager than actually someone who is in the works, doing the actual work.
Yeah.
So you have to interface with politicians. That's why sometimes you are taken to be a politician, whereas not. But it's very important to explain to politicians
Yes.
what is required for things to happen.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
And you also need to understand their point of view.
Yeah.
Because politicians, they think in terms of their term of office.
Yes.
Today I'm there.
Yes.
Next
Yeah,
time
out.
someone else may be voted in and I'm out. So what will I have to show
Yes.
in my time?
Yeah.
So you also need to be sensitive to their concerns.
Okay.
They want to show impact in a short time. So you need to plan together, tell them what is possible and what is not, okay? But then I think they've probably not been very helpful in looking for funding. Because whereas you, the technical person, you are busy making plans, preparing designs, you cannot at the same time be the same person looking for the money, okay?
Yeah.
So they need to do more advocacy to get the money into KCCA, so that these people can can do their work without undue stress. So they haven't been very helpful in that, and I think they need to do better. Okay. Yeah.
Andrew, I have another question here coming from Russ, is a URA official, of course, up at the border. He says, Eddie Okilah, thank you very much. Please ask that engineer, how do you explain the terrible quality of road repairs instead of the replacement, other than the kickback culture in the road construction and repair bridging process?
Well, I think that touches on what I mentioned before. When a road is designed, it is designed for a certain period. It is supposed to serve a certain period. Now, when that period passes, it starts requiring a lot of maintenance. It's like an old shirt or trouser. Something, it gets a hole here, you repair it, then another one comes here. So to a person who uses the road, you'll always see people repairing. Some of them may not be the same potholes, but they keep repairing. The effort is to ensure the road keeps motorable. But in actual fact, what is needed is total revamping, total reconstruction.
Okay.
Of course, total reconstruction requires a lot of money.
Yes.
So if you don't have the money, what do? Should you stop patching it and wait for the big money? Or you should continue patching it until you get enough money? Look at the situation of someone renting a house. You've just finished your school, you've gotten a job, the money isn't so much, but you want to become independent, you go and rent a house. Of course, you know that you are paying money to the landlord, and maybe over 10 years, the money you've paid could build you a new house. But you don't have yet the big money to build your own house. You have to continue paying the landlord until that time comes, either when you get a loan or something, that you build the new house. So you are in a catch-22 situation. So that is why. But of course, instances of poor quality, I cannot rule them out, because some of the contractors doing this work, if not supervised well, may do poor quality. So it goes on the KCCA staff to properly supervise these contractors. And also, when you use your in-house teams, there is a tendency to be kind to yourselves. That after all, what are they going to do to us? We are KCCA. We have repaired this pothole. Even if we come back and it has failed, there is no monetary, penalty that we are going to receive. For a contractor, there is a penalty, but for an in-house team, there is tendency to be complacent. So the in-house teams also need to be as serious the kind of scrutiny you put on a contractor, you must also put it on your in-house team.
Yes.
To make sure they do a good job.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're almost hastening up towards the end of this program, and of course we're going to let Andrew leave the studio and go back to work. I have quite a number of them. I want to sample some of the questions coming from the diaspora. This one says, Eddie Okilah, thank you very much for that program. I think we need to have more of this kind of programs on our television as opposed to the usual politicians talking a lot of nonsense on our television, flooded with so much people without information and speaking so much that they can't deliver. My name is Dennis, sending this. I'm watching this show from the US. It's quite late for me, but I think I like what Andrew Chitaka is saying. But I have a problem. Andrew needs to respond to this. 9 years of his time at Kampala Capital City Authority, he's talked about so much business coming in, so much money being given to us to repair the roads. Why is it that we don't see this coming? And when we fix the roads, we often don't make very good decisions. Case in point, the road where I have built, which falls under his administration, the recent one in Kulambiro, too many humps on the road, small humps, and now it's destroying our shocks. As an engineer who has lived and worked in Netherlands, what does he have to say about those humps that are usually placed on the road that becomes an irritable part of the residents that live on that road? Andrew, that's Dennis coming from the US.
Thank you very much for that question.
Yeah.
You know, when a road is designed, it is for a certain purpose.
Yeah.
Now, a road like Kulambiro Road, it's actually in a residential area.
Correct.
Most of that area is built up. It's not a highway. It's not a high-speed road like you would look at the Entebbe Expressway or the Northern Bypass. This is a road with a lot of frontage, a lot of on and off movements. So you cannot have high speed on that road. The unfortunate thing is that when the road was built, the speeds went up so much. People enjoyed it so much, the drivers, and they forgot about other road users. We have pedestrians there. We have people who have been used to an environment of very low speed, very few vehicles on their dirt road. They can cross the road at any point. So immediately you open the road, the speeds go up and people are knocked dead. We don't want to have that. So actually the speeds went up very much on Kulambiro Ring Road, and now the demand for humps went up. The residents were up in arms. They said, oh, we need humps here, we need humps there. But of course we didn't put them indiscriminately everywhere. The design already had humps and rumble strips, those ones which do
the ones which destroys our cars the most.
Maybe he's talking about those rumble strips.
Yes.
The design already had locations which should have those humps and rumble strips. For example, schools, churches, sharp corners. We had to put those things there. Because now, you may serve the car owner by removing the humps or not putting them there in that case, but then you'll be killing people. So there's a section of the public which doesn't drive, but they also need a safe environment. So we had to balance the two. Of course, the rumble strip is quite rough on a car, but if constructed properly, it is not supposed to be like that. Actually, with time they settle a bit, such that you feel it in your car, but it doesn't damage your shocks. And it's necessary, because should there be no rumble strip and you hit a hump without any warning, the rumble strip is supposed to warn you that there's a hump ahead. So if you hit a hump without any warning, it can be catastrophic. Your car can actually fly off the road. So they have to come together. So he should get accustomed to driving at a slow speed on that road. Maybe a speed, residential areas usually 30 kilometers. Between 50 and 30. Instead of driving at 80. Okay, then you'll not have any problem.
All right. All right, so I'm going to sample too many of these questions, but I want to sample another one. The dude said, I'm watching the show from Australia. Thank you very much. My name is Dennis. Originally from Gulu, now living in Australia. I lived in Kampala for some time, and I moved to Australia just about the time Jennifer Musisi was taking over Kampala. it was a good thing. Initially, we didn't see that team that included Andrew Chitaka were really serious, because Kampala had lived in the wrong for so long that the good was coming and were fighting it. Now we are crying of them. But it's even getting more serious that the serious brain like Chitaka are leaving City Hall, moving somewhere else, yet he talks of bigger projects coming. Was it being forced out because they want to bring incompetent people in so they can eat the money? Can you ask Andrew, why is it that our junctions that we said we are going to fix and the flyovers in Kampala have not been put in place, and yet he seems to be the most refined engineer of our time, leaving City Hall at the time when we need it most? Somebody is asking about the flyovers. What happened to our flyovers?
I think he has a point, and I think he has been keenly following issues in Kampala.
Yes.
Well, the flyover project, first and foremost, is a project being executed by UNRA. UNRA is the implementing agency, but KCCA, because it's under the jurisdiction of KCCA, it is on the implementing committee. Now, that project had an implementing period of 3 years, the Clock Tower and Zambia Road section. And I think maybe, could be that two of them have gone. I am informed that they lost a lot of time because of the relocation of utilities and some land compensation issues. But I think that the quality of contractor they have and the consultant are going to deliver that project. They are going to, I don't know exactly the timelines how they are now, but I'm very sure that project is going to be delivered, and the traffic jam at Clock Tower, Katwe Road, ShopRite will be no more. It could be possible that within next year it is going to be delivered, and then they'll also be starting on the phase 2, which covers the rest of Mukwano Road. You know, Zambia Road and Mukwano Road are going to be widened to 4 lanes. And it will go to Mukwano roundabout. There'll be a flyover there, Kitgum Junction, a flyover, Nakumat roundabout, or Garden City, and then also Wampeo roundabout. So you'll find that that area, which is always congested, you're going to have roads above, which are going to take away most of the through moving traffic, and then they leave the roads down for the local traffic. It's going to happen. It's a pity these things take quite long. Of course, it's being funded by JICA. It's a project funded by a development partner. Now, these development partners also have the cycle in which they do things. It's not like getting money from the consolidated fund and you do something. That will be faster. But they also have certain steps you follow to be able to access money from their fund. So we have to follow those steps. You have to do everything according to their guidelines, and then you'll have the money to do that. They are going to do it. The junctions, as I told you, again, they are helping us to fund the improvement of a number of junctions, 30 of them. Under the ADB project, about 23 are going to be done. Right now, I think there are about 14 being done under the World Bank project. You can imagine, by the time we came into KCCA 2011, this entire city of almost 4 million people during day, it had only 9 junctions signalized. So how much control do you have over traffic with just 9 junctions? Some of them not even working properly. I've been to a number of cities when we were preparing that project for the junctions. We went to quite a number of Japanese cities to look at the model that best suits Kampala. And we went to a city like Tokyo. The traffic control center of Tokyo is so huge that they control maybe about 18,000 junctions in the city. And it was clearly way beyond our capacity. We are not, we don't need it yet. We went to another city of, I think it was Nagoya, very huge. And we had to find a city which had similar characteristics to Kampala. And then that is the kind of control center we are prepared to manage in the city, and that is what is being designed. So the level of control of traffic that we had in Kampala was so low for the number of vehicles that we have. Even the infrastructure was of very low grade. So how many traffic police will you deploy at all those junctions without signals? You can't have that manpower. So we need to automate these things. These things are coming. I agree that that was Mr. Okwi. Dennis in Australia.
Okay, yes.
I agree that things are taking quite long.
Yeah.
But I think it would help if KCCA publicized all these programs and gave to the public the timelines under which they are going to happen. They are surely going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we are coming to the end of the show, and we surely really need to have Andrew go. The show is for 1 hour, and somebody saying, thank you very much. I'll follow just that last bit. My name is James. I follow the last bit of Andrew talking beautiful plans. But why is it our things always start to come out when the people are out of office? Andrew is now giving us information. Now, we needed this more of him when he was there as the acting ED. Maybe this would have gotten him, you know, confirmed as the ED. But that's my comment. Good to hear from you, Andrew. We need to do more of this. Now that you are out, what would be your best advice as a man who was at the helm of developing most of the infrastructure in Kampala City today? Can you ask Andrew that question, Eddie Okello?
Well,
they're saying now that you are out.
Now that I'm out.
Yes. Looking from outside into inside and what you have left there.
Looking from outside, I think that KCCA needs a lot of support. They still need a lot of support from the central government. I know the institution was created to be self-sustaining, but it is not yet there. Their institution's main source of income comes from property rates, the money they charge to property owners, then trading license, and then maybe to some extent the advertising. It's not the level of revenue they get, cannot even do a road. The most they can do is maybe collect some garbage in the city and maybe pay salaries, things like that. So they still need a lot of support. But also, I think there needs to be a program to educate people that more taxation is needed in the city for it to be self-sustaining. Most of the cities we visited, they have huge budgets, but most of the money is generated by the city itself. So they need to have that that ability to do things on their own instead of waiting always for government to come in with a grant or waiting for a development partner to give you some money. For example, at one point we were thinking of congestion charging. It was still a concept then. It needs to be developed to be realized. But I think that if everybody who used the roads in Kampala paid a small fraction of money towards their maintenance or towards their further development or towards development of good public transport. All cities have good public transport. The trains are working in many cities, the trams, good bus services. If we can have good public transport out of money generated by the city itself, then it is going to draw away so many people from the roads. You would be comfortable to park your car at home and go and pick a bus, go and pick a train, and move comfortably. Reduce the pollution levels. Okay, so there needs to be such big plans for raising revenue in Kampala. Otherwise, we shall always complain about potholes. Why are you doing repetitive work? But if there is no money to rehabilitate, then that is what you are going to see all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Andrew, this is your last question, but this one says, no, wait. We the people of Chitebi, I'm even laughing right now when Andrew says we need to pay more money. Ask Andrew, do we continue to pay more money and people keep squandering and the roads continue to remain the same? What mechanism do we have in place to make sure that the taxes we actually pay to Kampala Capital City Authority is not diverted like we always hear, and then often not, they have no money in their coffers to continue building. Recently, we've seen all the money being diverted to Parliament, so they have to go to Parliament and get money. How are they going to do it? Anyway, that's a story for another day, but ask Andrew whether there is a system in place to do that. In summary, I don't want you to let Andrew Chitaka go before he can answer the question of Chitebi. For 9 years, even more, KCC has been dumping garbage in Chitebi. The road leading to Chitebi, where they dump things from Kalerwe and that part, has a lot of potholes, heavy like a grave. Some can even bury a car, and KCA moves there every day. These are actually caused by KCA trucks that dump things there. Andrew, as the Director of Engineering and a former Executive Director at City Hall, why is that road, this particular road, not fixed all your time?
Well, thank you very much. I think the road he's talking about is Chitezi.
Chitezi, yes.
And not Chitebi.
Yes.
Because Chitebi is getting a brand new road.
I think he actually meant Chitezi because that's where the dumping is.
That's where the dumping is. That is true.